I recording this video Saturday 11th of October 2014. I'm actually recording this quite late in the day, but I'm going surfing early tomorrow morning, and I did want to have a video out this weekend after what has been just three momentous kind of days trading. Just unbelievable ranges, volumes, the speed of these moves, just been fantastic. Fairly smooth kind of going most of the days, which has been kind of good. I do hope you didn't blow out your account. Days like this where the ranges are absolutely huge, if you're stubborn, you refuse to go with the trend, you will lose money. And it's just, you could see the stops being run everywhere you went over the last 3 days, and that's what made these moves kind of so spectacular and so strong, was stops being popped here, there and everywhere. As it kind of took a couple of turns over the 3 days. Anyway, volumes were huge. 2.6 million contracts traded the last couple of days, 2.2 million on the Wednesday. And I want to talk about a couple of things in this. I want to talk about one of the rules of thumbs, just revisit that quickly. Want to talk about blue professional bars, and a couple of we had some nice kind of setups at the beginning of each of the 3 days that looked very similar when the blue professional bars kind of came together. I had a really nice kind of intraday reversal trade after I tried to get into it and was stopped out that I want to show you. And then lastly, where are we and where are we going? So kind of a revisiting Wednesday's video that was kind of calling for a sell-off. So here we go. We're through 1900, and that is psychologically really important. But the first point I want to talk about is one of these rules of thumb. I have these kind of half a dozen kind of rules of thumb that I'm slowly putting into the website in a little bit more kind of organized fashion. Number 5 is trend days close near their extreme, and the last 3 days that we have were all kind of trending days, kind of large range days. They reached 40-point days top to bottom, just huge. And you can see that the closes on each of these days were at the extreme. So obviously we had a news event on the Wednesday, the kind of rally because of FOMC notes that closed us up at the highs, back up at this 1970 level, which I keep on saying was kind of absolutely key. And we played off that, played down Thursday and Friday, and you can see the closes very close to the low, and then Friday's close was absolutely at the low, just extraordinary. So just remember that rule of thumb, that it kind of closes on the lows. If you're trying for kind of reversals on range days or trending days like this, just be really damn careful, because they tend to knock people out who are trying to do that, and that's why they end up closing on their extremes, because a whole bunch of stops get run at previous lows or highs. Anyway, so that's the first point to make, just about rule of thumb number 5, and I'll link to that in the notes below this video. Second point I want to talk about is these blue professional bars at the open. We had 3 days where the opens were fairly similar. We had a little bit of kind of continuation from the previous day on each of these days to the downside, and then we kind of refused to break down straight away. And I want to talk about that in terms of Friday's trade. So I've just bunched up a 4,500 tip bar chart here. This is the open on Friday. Obviously Thursday was a big down day, and then Friday, we start off kind of heading down. We had weaker activity during the overnight session. This is the close on Thursday, the open on Friday. So we're making kind of lower lows here, and the market thinks that we're heading down, but just be careful. That is all amateur activity kind of trading to the downside, and I'm going to show you that by looking at the other charts. So that's the 4,500 chart. On the 1,500 tip bar chart, you can see what was going on here. This activity coming down into this low was led by the amateurs, because we have a Rambo pattern. There's no blue professional bars there. We have amateurs leading the activity, and that comes with an exhaustion pattern. And I always say exhaustion patterns and Rambo are unstable. What that means is a whole bunch of amateurs have gone super short, okay, and they just get knocked out. We break a little bit of the lows of that Rambo pattern, and then we race all the way back up, and then this is where the professionals are active. We come all the way back up to 30 from 15 or so, so a 15-point rise, and that's when the professionals come in. See the professionals there. At this exhaustion level here was so close. It was like 8.1 thousand contracts. This one was a fraction more, so that's why that kind of went off, showing an exhaustion pattern. That was almost an exhaustion pattern to mirror that kind of reading down there. And that's when the blue professional bars kind of come in, and that's when they take it down. And then we zero in a little bit closer to it on the 500 tip bar chart, and you can see here is the open. And what we've got going on at the beginning is all these Rambo patterns. We're being led by the amateurs the whole way down, exhaustion patterns here. It's an end of trend with exhaustion on end of trend. We're usually waiting for the second cyclical turn after end of trend, which is this one. Bullish divergence is on the zero line, so we're waiting for a flush. That's a nice little pattern of a reversal here. We go all the other way, and there's the exhaustion coming, and all the blue professional bars kind of coming at those highs. That's actually a little triple setting up, so a triple support, 1500 its support, the 4500 its support, and the 1500 its support there. So just wait for that. Don't get, and look back on your charts. Look at the beginning of Thursday, the beginning of Wednesday. The same thing was going on. We had initial weakness that was being led by the amateurs. Not necessarily Rambo patterns on 1500. It wasn't as clear as on Friday. But then we kind of came back a little bit, and it wasn't till the professional bars kind of came in that we knew that we were kind of heading down. They'd had time to take their positions. And what's going on here is we've had a super big kind of move the next day, and it kind of starts off weaker overnight, weaker during the day. The professionals are saying, no, I'm not just going to buy a breakout to the downside straight away. I'm going to get a better price. I'm going to get some more points by forcing this thing up, forcing some amateurs out, waiting for a better opportunity to get short, and that's where I'm going to do it. And I'm going to make an extra 15 points on this kind of move down from 30 down to 10. So that was the second thing I want to talk about, and then I want to talk about a nice little reversal trade. So 4500 tip bar chart, this was the whole activity for the day, but we had a really nice little rise here. My trading was, what was I doing? I was short, long, short, 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 and then I put in two long trades. The first one I got knocked out on a stop right at this point here because I entered a fraction too early, but who is to know? It was very violent during the day, so all 3 days have been kind of quite pushing it in terms of kind of getting close to stops and so on. So I did get knocked out just on my stop here, but then re-entered shortly afterwards and caught this as a reversal trade. And I want to talk about that one because it's a nice little setup here. It's a triple support, so we've got support on all three time frames coming in. It's pullback to end of trend, and a whole bunch of blue professional bars have come in on this left shoulder here on 45. So we know that there's some support coming in around the 1910 level. We kind of test back into that, and then we go for this little kind of reversal move the other way. It's an exhaustion pattern kind of heading back up to the highs of the day. Bearish divergence sets in, and then that was just a spectacular move into the close for the day. Just a massive sell-off of 30 plus points, almost 40 points kind of on the way down there. But this is this little kind of setup. It's pullback to end of trend. We've got support here going on the 4500 tip bar chart. On the 1500 tip bar chart, let me just pull up my pointer so I can get to this exactly on the 1500 tip bar chart. On the 1500 tip bar chart, which is what I'm using for trend changes with exhaustion patterns and so on, we'd already bottomed kind of down here at the 1906-08 kind of level. Pullback to end of trend, the market's so strong it's just busted through that support level and kind of continued on. But that's when we get the exhaustion and the bullish divergence kind of comes in. So pullback to end of trend, those things going on. It's happening at the end of trend, so I say wait for the second cyclical turn after end of trend, which is here. And that's where we get the first kind of blush back up. That is actually the rise back up to the pullback level on the 4500 tip bar chart, and that's when we test back in. So we know there's some decent support here because we put in our bullish divergence and exhaustion patterns. Coming back in, we got a flush pattern, so this is looking nice. This is where the support level is coming in on the 4500 tip bar chart, if you can see that there. So this is support coming in there, support on 15. I see a whole bunch of blue professional bars. We have amateur down bars, and then the blue professional bars, a little cluster there kind of coming in, and that's where I jump in initially at 13.5. It starts to go my way, but then all of a sudden we get jacked down. 4 points go the other way, quickly taken out at my stop there at 9.5. and I'm waiting to see what happens after that. But all that was a jab kind of back down. Blue professional bar kind of comes in to save the day, bullish divergence down there, and we start to race away to the upside. So I jump back in, I'm in at 14.25, and then keep on moving out my target because previous highs kind of make sense for places, or past previous highs kind of make sense for places to take profits. I'm out at 21.25. So although I lost 4 on that stop being run, kind of make back 7 going the other way. So I'm very happy that for the last couple of trades for the day. On the 500 tip bar chart, let me try and zero in on this activity a little bit more. So on the 500 tip bar chart, that move down had put us into pullback to end of trend. We had exhaustion, flush patterns, and so on. And this is where I was starting to go long here, just after these blue professional bars. And then it can't really get anywhere. We got a Rambo pattern, a false breakout there. That's being led by the amateurs, and that's where they jack it back down into 10s. Blue professional bar comes in, another exhaustion pattern, and that's when it starts to race away to the upside. Obviously, with Friday's activity, or the last 3 days, we've had these moves have tended to kind of keep on going. The momentum's been huge, and it's all the stops being run kind of on the way. People getting themselves in trouble. And kind of expecting the market to be kind of moving in straight directions for longer periods of time, and all their stops getting run, and that's why we get this kind of blow-off move into exhaustion, bearish divergence, and then we go for a run the other side. So I'm going to tag on that intraday trade because I think that's a nice example of, first of all, kind of getting knocked out on a stop, but just having the confidence to come back in because it was the right thing to do as a reversal trade kind of going in there. And then, so lastly, where are we and what are we doing? Now, again, I'll link to Wednesday's post, but what I was talking about on Wednesday was support levels being broken, and we're not going to see the end of this move down until we see pullback to end of trend. And just to revisit the 45 tip bar charts, this was, as I put out this video at the last video at the beginning of Wednesday, we had the initial sell-off and then we had FOMC. This is what I was saying, we haven't put in pullback to end of trend. We're breaking supports on the 45-minute chart. Yes, we had this huge kind of move the other way, which kind of freaked out a lot of people. A lot of people got very bullish just with that kind of news and just got totally trounced going the other way. It's kind of 70 points set up the other way. And so now we're back down through another support level, having put in an exhaustion pattern here, but we haven't put in an exhaustion pattern on a left shoulder. Potentially if we get some follow through on Monday, because everybody on the weekend will be freaking out and people will be thinking, what do I do with my positions? And particularly if you're in the kind of the tech sector, there might be some follow-on on Monday because of kind of orders rolling in kind of early in the day. But let's wait and see. What we have to do on the 45-minute chart is put in pullback to end of trend before this thing is over, and exhaustion patterns and so on. So that's what I'd look for before this thing's over on the 45. On the 135, we have had pullback to end of trend, and that's one of the reasons why we got this kind of big bounce, because that support level was kind of mid-trend, and we bounced off that. But I look for these signals to ripple through from the lower time frames to the medium to the higher, and so we're back down through another support level on the 135-minute chart again, which means we've got to probably put in pullback to end of trend or something like it on the 135, and then on the daily chart we're through support. And I showed you on Wednesday's video that we're through support on all of the major indices, Russell, Dow, S&P, Nasdaq. So we're through support here on the daily, which means we probably got to put in pullback to end of trend, or some kind of support on the weekly chart and so on. So we've had 3 spectacular days. We've had the last 2 have just been rock and roll kind of all the way down, and I don't think it's going to be necessarily continue like that. I mean, we're going to, at some point, they're going to start to think, well, where's the support kind of coming in here? But in my mind, this isn't over. I think it's going to lurch down rather than, well, who knows? Who knows? I mean, maybe you could argue it both ways. The best thing to do is to not have an opinion. Is just to say, look, we've got these triple supports been broken again on these high time frames, and therefore it's not until we put in pullback to end of trend, on at least the 45-minute chart, that things will start to kind of slow down, and we start to find those left shoulders from which we can bounce. So just wait and see. Exciting times. I do hope you traded it well. If not, study hard this weekend, and potentially just sit back for the next few days, because the volatility, we've got, you know, super volatility, we've got lots of volume kind of rolling through and a lot of things kind of going on. So you know, it's maybe if you're having trouble trading this at the moment, then step back and just kind of watch it instead. Anyway, so hope you enjoy your weekend, and looking forward to next week's trade. It's gone long 14.25 again, long 14.25. I tried this a few minutes ago, got knocked out exactly on my stop, and I should have just re-entered straight away because there was a blue professional down bar, and so same reasons, exactly the same reasons for this trade. We bottomed out on the 1500 tip bar chart with exhaustion, bullish divergence, pull back to end of trend, and then we had the first kind of blush back up, which took us into this pullback resistance on 4500. So now we come back in, flush pattern down the bottom, and I was looking for this breakout here, but we wanted to push down into 10s, 9.5s, and then you know, break back up through this channel. So we got a kind of triple support going on, support, support, support again, and this time we're breaking into a trend move on the 500 tip bar chart. Alright, here we go. We're about to touch the initial target, 18.25. I've moved my target out to 20.25, just because the previous high up here is at 19.75. Probably at 20.25 if you know, it's right in the middle of where a stop run would happen, so I could push it out a little bit more. I might think about doing that. So we got a reversal kind of in place. That blue professional bar just happened on a retrace there, so I'm not worried about that. We got to go see exhaustion buy on the upside now to mirror this, So let's hold on. Well, initial target 18.25 just got hit. Just got a little bit of weakness. I've moved my target now out to 21.25. So kind of a bit above this recent high. Get taken out on a stop run. We've just found resistance on the 1500. Blue professional bar at the highs there. Not worried until we see you know, exhaustion on 500 and pull back end of trend. So come on, let's get this thing going. Well, it's just been settling back a bit, just because we found resistance here at 18. That's all right. So our pullback level kind of come in. Got another little bullish divergence, very weak selling right there. So give this bullish divergence. Now we're just about to jump across, hopefully. So hopefully that'll take us up to this previous high run stops and go 21s. So just being patient. It's kind of amateur down bars, you can see there, just pushing in. Here we go. And I'm looking for an exhaustion pattern on 500. I had a bit of think about it, but it'll come through. Right, here we go. We're about to run some stops. Size 19.75. And we're at 50. There we go. Now I'm looking for 21.25. Should just start to burst up. It's decent readings. Here we go. There we go. That was them run. So come on, 21.25. Take me out. Bingo. Done. Excellent for a 7. Awesome. So, and there's the exhaustion pattern coming. That'll be end of trend up there. Don't think it's over on the upside. There we go. The end of trend goes off because we've not seen blue professional bars, and might have a little bit of trouble here because we've got end of trend coming up with cyclical resistance. But anyway, we've had a trend change, reversal day. This is all happening before 11 AM. It's just gone 11:03. That was our exhaustion on the downside. Bang. And then we tested the freak out bar that took me out on my stop down there, and then re-entered and got it all back. Excellent, and some more.